My goal is to one day be able to read Japanese flawlessly, but there's one problem that prevents me from doing that. Having to look up a word that you don't know what it means, and you don't know how to read it because you don't know the kanji that the word is made out of. So why read in the first place? Well, first of all, reading is probably the best way to determine how well you understand the language. It's like doing a language test because reading is grammar and vocabulary combined. And not only that, because when you're reading something, you're actually seeing these words in context, which makes it way more likely that you will remember them. And if you're reading a book, then you're probably going to see this word over and over again, which means repetition, which means that you are even more likely to remember that word. So the struggle that I told you about in the beginning is probably something that you can relate to, but there is a way to fix it. And in my opinion, there is 3 things that you need in order to fix them. And those are grammar, vocab or kanji, and a dictionary. So starting out with grammar, every sentence contains grammar, so you gotta have a solid foundation of grammar. And I don't know what your level is, but let's assume that you are just starting out with Japanese. Okay, so pick one resource for grammar that you are going to use and then just stick with it. And I know that can be hard because especially with Japanese there are so many resources online, so I will give you a recommendation of my own. When I started out, I used basically only one resource for my grammar, so I want you to do that too. Go to YouTube and just type Japanese from zero. Then hit enter and check this playlist. This playlist will basically teach you all the beginning stuff that you need. So I want you to watch this playlist, or at least half of it, around book 3 I think. I made a video about this resource where I reviewed it and why I think it is great, and the person who made it is so great. And so if you really want to see if this is something for you, then you have to watch this video. You can find a link to this video in the description if you want. Now don't worry about actually understanding it, especially the first time when you're watching this series, because you probably won't. And that's not a problem at all, because the magic happens when you find this grammar outside of the resource. For example, when you're reading a book and you find this grammar piece again, and you're like, hey wait, I learned this before. And when that happens, look it up online, and you will find it online because Japanese has so many information online. Then just read it again and give your brain a little refresher. And now that you know what it means again, it'll get stored in your memory even deeper, so it's easier to remember for another time. As for vocab, well, compared to grammar, they are easier to learn I guess, but there's also a lot more of them. But the thing is, vocabulary in Japanese is so much different because a word in Japanese is pronounced based on the kanji that it is made of. And you know, only a few kanji can be combined together to form so many words, so you have to learn kanji. Well, in terms of learning kanji, you have to just focus on a few kanji every day, don't do too many, and then just add more kanji over time. And also learn the kanji that are most used first. Don't go learn random kanji that you don't even need. Now, there's actually a website that does exactly this. They teach you 2000 kanji, which seems like a lot, but really isn't. They only teach kanji that you are actually going to need, the most used kanji, and they give you a few kanji at a time. So the only thing that you have to do is review them every single day. Just a few kanji every day, maybe for an hour maximum, and eventually you'll learn a lot of kanji. Now again, I made a review for this website because I think it's amazing. I've been using it for a month now, and I highly recommend it because the best time to learn kanji is now. Now, even when you think that you know enough grammar and vocabulary, there will always be a moment that you see something that you don't know. That's just how it works. And when that happens, you need a dictionary. And the dictionary that I use, the only one I use, is Jisho. Jisho is a dictionary, if you couldn't tell, because Jisho literally means dictionary. And what I like about it is that it has words and it has kanji. So when you find a word somewhere, given that there's no kanji, you can look up the words. Then you can see what kanji it is made out of. You can see how those kanji are read and the actual meaning of the kanji itself. Now, to me, using a dictionary is not about really learning. It's about understanding something that I'm reading at that exact moment. So I learn vocab and kanji through Wanikani while simultaneously reading and listening for native content. And what I'm hoping for is that I encounter something that I have learned in Wanikani, because that is the moment when it actually sticks in my brain and when I remember it. That is how I learn vocab. So when you know some grammar and vocab, you can start reading, but what should you be reading? Well, it really depends on your level. If you are a beginner, then you should read something for beginners. Now, how do you find specific books for beginners? Well, there are some books that are specifically written for people at a certain level, and those are called graded readers. So this book is N4 level, as it says right here. And so that means that the grammar and the vocab that is used in this book are around that level. So if you are around that level and you read this book, then it should be not easy, but perfect for you. Now, what I like about this book in particular is that it has a story in Japanese, in kanji and whatever, and then it has a translation of that story right next to it. And it even has some explanation. So basically all the grammar that is used throughout the story is written and is explained, which is really nice. The only downside, I think, is that it is a little boring. These stories are like typical Japanese stories, you know, and I don't really like those. So I've only read about around 3 or 4 stories. I don't know how many there are, but I haven't finished the book. But it is really good for learning. So to summarize, learn vocab, learn grammar, and then when you have a solid foundation, you can start reading. You can choose to read a graded reader like this, or just start reading at your level. And then when you find something that you don't know, use a dictionary, it's fine. Don't worry about not remembering something that you have to look up, just look it up and continue reading, because you'll learn on the way anyway. And with that being said, thank you for watching, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.